I'm really hoping today you really get a felt experience of the present moment because that's what it's all about. A lot of people think they're going to do a mindfulness group at 2 o'clock. We don't do mindfulness, it's really about being. So I'm going to invite you into a soft landing practice, which is what we often use in mindful self-compassion, which is the 8-week program developed by Dr. Chris Germer and Kristen Neff. How many people are familiar with Kristen Neff? Chris Germer? Yeah, mindful self-compassion. That's all I teach now because MBSR, lots of teachers doing that. This I've been teaching MSC since 2017. It saves my life. So I'm going to give you some of those resources as well. And we'll begin with a soft landing practice, which is a welcoming practice. It's an opportunity to land, to arrive, to really show up. Like those of you with your cameras on, I see you're here with me. That creates a feeling of much more safety. I see you're really on board here. Because what we're doing today is we're healing ourselves in an effort to also heal others at the same time. It's a tall order. So I invite you to posture yourselves in a manner that allows you to feel relaxed yet alert. What does that mean for your body right now? If you had a hard night, maybe you need to stretch or twist or yawn or do a little movement here, a sigh, oh, shoulder rolls, whatever. I really encourage you to have both feet flat on the floor so you can feel what does that feel like? Do you notice that? This is called soles of the feet. This is one of the resources for groundedness. You have in yoga, in mountain pose, those of you that are familiar, really it's a standing posture. You've both feet flat on the floor with all four corners on the floor. If you have socks on or shoes on or you're barefoot, it doesn't matter. This is one of the resources I think is so easy, but we forget. Like most resources, it makes sense now, but then when we're in the moment. So, yeah, feel the difference of when you have both feet on the floor and you're sitting in a posture that allows you to pay kind, curious attention to the present moment inside your body and outside your body. So, your hands, everything's uncrossed, ideally. And this is what I do with the kids in the school system. We have an art therapy department in our public schools, by the way. I retired a year and a half ago, but I was there for over 30 years. And I would have kids sit so that you can pay attention in a way that's relaxing yet exciting, and you can be really there for what's going on. It's important. You're having your life. You're alive. So hands can be on your lap, they can be on your heart, which is another evidence-based resource, hand on the heart. If you'd like, place your hand on your heart now for a moment, one or two hands, whatever works. The kids that still say the Pledge of Allegiance, this is an opportunity for them. Put their hand on their heart at the beginning of the school day, because we're all in America here. Yeah. So what do you notice with your hand on your heart? What comes up? Do you notice a temperature? Does it feel warm? You can shake your head. I mean, men and women both feel this. Sometimes you actually feel a little bit of calmness because guess what? This simple gesture, hand on the heart, allows your parasympathetic nervous system to kind of even out just for that second. It'll go back to wherever it was. But hand on the heart is something we do unconsciously when we're talking about heartfelt experiences like, OMG, you know what happened to me today? Or we do this all the time unconsciously. But when you do it consciously, not only are you connecting with your parasympathetic nervous system, you're also cultivating oxytocin, which is that feel-good hormone that women secrete profusely when they're breastfeeding. Guess what? The research shows men and women can activate oxytocin. Do you feel that? Does anyone feel that warm, fuzzy feeling? Does anyone feel it? No one does? One person. Wow. Two people. Three. Oh, three people out of, wow, that's all? Three out of 73? I don't believe you. That's not possible. Anyway, hand can be on the heart. This is called supportive or soothing touch. This is Paul Gilbert's work out of the UK, if you want to research his work. Compassionate focused therapy. Wonderful stuff. So it's called soothing or supportive touch. How many of you are pet owners? Anybody here a owner? Okay. How do you talk to your fur baby? Do you pet them? What happens when you pet them and you say, "Oh, sweetheart, it's okay. I love you." They chill out, right? Same thing here. Okay. Same deal. But you can find other spots in your body that bring that to you. Hand on holding your hand. So that's an investigation you can do on your own. You already have these things going on. You're just not aware usually. So eyes can be opened or closed. If you're exhausted, keep them open. And with the populations that we work with, I don't give them the option of closing their eyes because going inside is usually very unsafe for many of our traumatized populations. So eyes will stay open. Why don't we do that for our purposes? Whatever you want. You want to close them, go for it. Whatever works, you know? So here you are in this incredibly reliable body that's always been there for you. So I invite you to take a few gentle breaths, like 3. Notice yourself sitting here in your setting, just as you are. How do you want to welcome yourself to the present moment? We recognize that everyone is arriving with life as it is. Our practice includes all that arrives with us. Notice what you notice using all your senses, what you see, hear, taste, smell, and feel, whatever is easiest to access for you right now. This is a welcoming, an arrival practice, a showing up fully practice. Compassion is a resource that allows us to be with what is. This is something you can bring to yourself at any given moment with simple words of encouragement, perhaps gratitude for all the parts of you that are operating so beautifully right now. And maybe a little more encouragement for those parts that are struggling right now. And even the neutral parts, the full catastrophe, as John Kabat-Zinn calls it. May our collective intention be that we hold ourselves and each other with the balm of compassion. We're all doing the best we can with what we've got. So notice what you notice inside right now and outside. This is the practice of being with what is, with full acceptance. Simple, but definitely not easy. So bring to mind a sense of when you felt really welcome in your life, a time when you knew you mattered. People cared that you were there. They really welcomed you authentically. You knew that you were important to them. Think of a time like that. It doesn't have to be a complete welcome. It could be a relative welcome, like when your fur baby greets you when you come home, or like-minded gatherings, dear friends and family, or a moment of communion with Mother Nature, any of those, or something else. And when you have a situation, how does that feel in your body when you feel welcome? What does that feel like? What do you notice? So let's practice breathing compassion in for ourselves first, whatever means compassion and loving kindness and tenderness for you. It might be a color or a texture, might be words or a song, a prayer, a movement, an image, whatever that means. Breathe it in, fill yourself with it. And why not do this all the time? While you're driving, when you're about to enter a hot session, whatever it is, a conflict, when you wake up in the morning, before you go to sleep. Make it your practice. We have to practice. This doesn't come naturally. It needs practice. So we're extending a radical welcoming to everyone, no matter where you're coming from, no matter what your background is. Everyone belongs, everyone is welcome, everyone is included. Thank you for being here. Notice the power of this simple practice. And I hope whatever I bring to you today, whatever I offer you, whatever resonates with your heart, that's what you need to integrate into your life and into your work. Because that's the point of all this. It's not just another training. This is a lifestyle commitment for wellness and balance. So I'm going to, okay, let me see. I see there's some, oh, I love the chat room messages. I may not, the feeling be negative depending on their situation. Great question. Sure, of course, all feelings, of course. And once we label it negative, then we already judge it, right? So we can name it Stanley instead. Do make sure you have your art supplies. I am going to go over the media with you shortly. So if you don't have it yet, uh, then you may want to go grab it now. Some paper, a pencil with a really nice, pretty eraser, not a dirty one. Very important. Pastels, if you have them, colored pencils, if you, stuff you have around the house, markers, and heavy duty aluminum foil. So, all right, here we go. This painting is one I made years ago. It's called The Bloom of the Moment. And that's really what this is about. That we're focusing on what's working. It's strengths based. Because as you can see from this quote, I don't read my slides. I figure everybody else can do that. They don't need me to do it. Uh, Art is not just for the skilled, for the young, or for the crazy. Art is your creative expression. Everybody is an artist. You create your life. And this is a disclaimer that just to remind you that you're not an art therapist unless you go to graduate school and get a master's degree in art therapy and then do 1,000 hours of post-grad direct contact and get supervision. Other than that, you can use art therapeutically within your scope of practice. And that's what this is about. That's the hope here. And this is a John Kabat-Zinn quote. When he came, I'm in Miami. He came to Miami years ago. For you to just notice, just from the first experience you just had now, uh, I think from that, you kind of have an idea about what it means to, unless you already have a mindfulness practice. But these are some very disturbing statistics, and they're probably worse now. In fact, I'm sure they are, but I wanted to share them with you. And mindfulness and mindful self-compassion create these neural pathways in our brain. We know that this is essential for us. It's not really, I would say, especially in the times we're living in, now more than ever, we need these tools for ourselves first. And then everyone else automatically benefits because you embody them in exactly in and once you do that, because of the mirror neurons on the left side of the frontal lobe, even on a Zoom call, it will be contagious, the good contagion. So let's talk a little bit about mindful exploration of art materials. And then I'm gonna I'm going to do that. Actually, we'll dive into self-compassion a little bit more first. And then, but if you don't have the art materials, now's the time. Grab them if you have to go get them for sure. Because you can hear me speaking, hopefully. Just to let you know what mindful self-compassion means, I've put together this slide for you. Basically, this is by Chris Germer. And basically what we're talking about here is treating yourself like your own best friend. That you treat yourself like we just did in the soft landing practice, in ways that you treat other people you really love and care about in the same way when they're suffering, the same way you are when you're suffering. Because most of us, the research shows overwhelmingly, we treat other people a whole lot better when they're suffering, when we care about them, than when we're suffering. We beat ourselves up. So it's important to know some of these mindful self-compassion tools, like hand on the heart and soles of the feet. All right. So this picture you're seeing now on this slide is a student I worked with for 3 years in the high schools. We're itinerant in the public school system. We have more than one school. I don't know how many of you are move around, go to school, or you know what that's like. But he was getting ready to graduate and he realized all the thoughts going on. So he made this self-portrait out of Model Magic. That's a air dry clay. And notice the eyes are gone. He doesn't really want to see. He's anxious. So he used sequins to show all the stuff in his mind. I bet you all can relate to this because this is what creates anxiety and depression. So it's very important that you have the right amount of media and tools to use. Oh, we're not ready for that yet. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here. We'll get to that. So what I want to do here is I want to look at your faces. I'm going to stop the share for a moment. And I want to talk to you about the media. It's very important. In the handout that you received, you're going to get a lot of resources about media because media is diagnostic. So let's start with the pencil. The pencil is the easiest media to control. How many of you have a pencil right now? Anybody have pencil on them? Show me your pencil. Okay, so check it out. What does it feel like? What do you notice? Doesn't it feel interesting? It has a texture. It has a point. If you're working with self-injurious clients, you don't want a real pointy pencil, do you? I recommend the golf pencils, the real stubby ones, but then you have to make sure you have a really decent eraser on you. I like uh, I like stuff like this, that's clean. Because when you're working with anxious people, the last thing you want them to have to deal with is a smudge on their paper when they erase. You've all had that, right? Because people that are anxious tend to erase a lot because they can't get it right, especially if you're OCD or you're a perfectionist. Now, out of the 82 people here, I'm sure we have some perfectionists. So this is really important. So if you have a pencil with a dirty eraser, don't give it to anybody. That's not a good idea. You're setting them up for failure. But pencil is the easiest media to control. Why? Because you don't have to make a commitment. You can erase it. You can change your mind. So pencils are important. When you add color, like a colored pencil, and I on purpose have this 50 colored pencils here. Now, I don't recommend this, many pencils. If you're working with someone with anxiety, depression, trauma, which is ADHD, too many choices, too many. If you have somebody that loves colored pencils and that's all they want and they're really comfortable with it, sure, of course. But I don't want you to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on materials. It's not necessary. Dollar store, dollar store, dollar store. Everybody has one around the corner, right? And you can get what you need. But you do want to make sure you have a pretty decent eraser. Not eraser, pencil sharpener. But kids love these things and they'll go on and on with them. So better that you have control of this, depending on who you're working with. So when you add color to your artwork, you're adding affect. That's why it's risky. You might have a lot of people that don't feel comfortable with color and they only want a pencil. That's okay. It's scary because then you're taking another risk. There is no recipe for colors. Red does not mean anger for everyone. I'm here to tell you, blue does not mean sadness for everyone. Color is very personal. What's your favorite color? What do you love to be around? What kind of color clothes do you wear? Is it a favorite color of someone in your family? Do you notice what do colors do for you? And also notice if you had a bad experience growing up with art. Did your art teacher tell you your drawing was ugly and then you haven't drawn since? I have heard that story so many times. I feel so bad. I'm here to tell you it's the art teacher's issue and it's not about you. But maybe you were drawing with a colored pencil in second grade when your art teacher said that, and so now you won't go near them. I want you to examine your experience with art making. A lot of people are very skittish about making art. I understand that. This isn't about skill. I'm not teaching you technique. This is about pure expression and releasing our attachment to any outcome for our purposes here. We're not trying to get somewhere. We are where we are, and we're with it as we started. So then we move from colored pencils. I like this brand. I don't know if you can see Sakura, just because I'm a purple lover. Again, we want to cater to ourselves first, right? And then our clients. And so this happens to be kind of a messy box, right? I did that on purpose. Do you think this would engage somebody? Not exactly. So you want to keep your stuff in order. It's just nicer. Any of these materials I'm talking about, you try them first. Because seriously, if you have an issue with like dirty hands, you're not going to want to have pastels in your office. But that's not fair to the person coming in that likes to get dirty, right? So these are the kinds of things we work out with ourselves first. So I'm here to tell you that you're all artists and you all have something to offer, and it matters. I hope you get that today. I really do. So then, really, when you think we're not painting today, maybe some other time, but if you want paints, the most complicated is watercolors. Why? Because they go where they go. And people are just scared of them. And I get that because we really want to feel like we have control, don't we? Ha ha. Watercolors really helps us with that. And then the most regressive media of all is clay, wet clay. And so all of this is in your handout. And so if you want to work with clay, I recommend, well, you probably don't have a kiln. Maybe some of you do if you're connected to a ceramic studio or you're a potter yourself or you do hand building. Model Magic is awesome, but it's a little pricey. You can investigate. There's some other ones. Sculpey's okay, but it's really hard. And you want to make it user friendly, and you have these short time limits in your sessions. And so Play-Doh Play-Doh's okay. It's just, again, with little kids, I'd only give them one color because otherwise you're going to end up with mud because they smush them all together, right? Same thing happens with paints and pastels. So we're also using aluminum foil today. Now, notice the heavy duty here. Now, I have the fancy Reynolds wrap from the grocery store. You don't have to do that. The dollar store has it. Well, I hope so. Maybe not. I mean, but I'm just telling you, it needs to be heavy duty. What I love about this, no muss, no fuss, little, not so much preparation. And for our ASD, our autistic spectrum disorder populations, our sensory issued people, these are, you can call them pipe cleaners, or if you call them chenille stems, they charge more for some weird reason. So I like to call them pipe cleaners and get the bargain basement rate. So these come in different thicknesses. Yeah, so they're also at the dollar store. These are a good alternative. We're going to be using these a little bit later to aluminum foil. All right, so it is really important also developmentally. Okay, let's head into this. So for your first directive, I invite you to take a piece of paper, and I'm just talking about this plain paper everybody has in their printer, if you have a printer or has around, right? It doesn't have to be fancy. I like that it's this size, again, because of timing. And what I'm going to invite you to do really quickly, well, actually, I'm going to give you a whole 15 minutes. Ooh, I probably will be rushing you though today because I'm packing in at least 7 directives for you all, just so you're really, you end up really full at the end, like a good feast, you know? All right, so what I'm going to invite you to do, and I say invitation on purpose, you do what you can as best you can to create a name design. This is an introduction. This is a warm-up. But the name design is the name you love to be called, like your label in life. What do you like to be called? And so I invite you to decorate it where it will demonstrate your strengths, what brings you joys. If you love nature, if you love car racing, if you, whatever, don't worry about what it looks like. You can just use line, shape, and color and just enjoy the process of creating a name design that portrays you at your best, whatever that means for you. And I invite you to also make an intention for our training today. Why are you here? You could be doing so many other things right now and you showed up. How can you make it matter the most? This precious time of our lives that we're spending together. So make the design, and then if an intention comes up, and it's usually in the form of I'm here to fill in the blank, whatever that is. And you can put that on the back of your name design. So have fun. Keep your cameras open. I love to watch people make art. That's part of what you do in art therapy is you watch. I'm not going to be able to see what you're doing unless you turn your camera toward it. But you watch how the artwork evolves. But I usually ask people, is it okay if I watch you? Because not everybody likes to be watched, right? So I do that too. You might want to do that. So go for it. Notice how your body feels while you're working on your name. Think about the history of your name. Where did it come from? How'd you end up with this name? Must be a story there. Can you be friendly and curious about this rather than critical? Can you allow yourself to just enjoy and play and be spontaneous? That's when we're at our most creative. Notice what colors you're choosing. The thoughts that come into your mind, are they critical or compassionate? Probably critical. The mind has a negativity bias and we're really hard on ourselves. This is your chance to let up on yourself. Give yourself grace. Notice the presence that's needed for this, to be present for yourself, to be really here for you, for all of you, the hard stuff, the soft stuff, all of it. This name is what you're called your entire life. Notice the rhythm you work with. Are you fast and furious? Are you slow and steady? This is your rhythm forever. This is your rhythm. It doesn't change. The way you make art is the way you navigate at the same rhythm your whole life. Sometimes we end up in a trance. That's perfectly fine. We lose track of time. We're in flow. Notice the inner voice. How are you talking to yourself about this? How do you want to take care of it? You deserve it. It's your turn right now. Take care of you. And you're welcome to use any materials you like. Some people like to use found objects in their setting. You could really get into this. For our purposes today, it's kind of like a tasting menu. Of course, everything we do, whatever really resonates with you, you can work on further in your own time. And so in using art therapeutically, we're as interested in the process of the creation. Notice what you did first, what you did after that, what you did after that. How did you decide it was enough? All of that is the way you perceive the world, always. This is what I mean about having access to unconscious habits that rule our lives, and then having the agency to make choices about them. Something as simple as a piece of art like this can give you that information for yourself first, and then for whoever you're working with. All right. So I wanted to spend a few minutes hearing from our full, beautiful group here, this full community, about what you noticed, what you discovered, how you might use this in your work. What happened? Does anyone want to share their work? Is anybody courageous enough here? And
Kept it really simple. I put Tasha because that's what I like to be called, and I shared this with my group mate that we were just talking, and I chose the color pink. I kind of wrote my name in cursive, smooth. I like my name Tasha, even though I'm Latasha. And like I was sharing with her, it's funny that I chose the color pink because usually my favorite color is like blue. And I was telling her a story about when I grew up. I remember like Power Rangers and how my younger sister chose to be the pink Power Ranger. And I was like, I'll be the yellow Power Ranger. But like deep down, I wanted to be the pink Power Ranger. And so I think deep down, like, I'm kind of like, I should have chose to be the pink Power Ranger, but pink came out and that was just crazy. I'm like, okay, pink is cute. And then I just did like a yellow background, like sun rays. I love light, peace. It's just warm. But I kept it really simple, but it was like, wow, this is interesting.
So just that, like if you were coming into a session with me and I was just, this could be part of my intake, because wow, that's a powerful memory with your little sister who loved pink. And just like that connection you have with her and how it just came out. And obviously your heart was in it. So this is what I'm talking about, how powerful this is. That's why it has to be used very sensitively within your scope of practice. You can't be an art therapist. As an art therapist, yeah, I'm trained to look at placement and line quality and imagery. And if something repeats, like if pink repeats, if Tasha was my client and I see that, I'd make sure I had pink in my office for her. You don't always get pink in these sets, right? But that's an important color I know of now for Tasha, right? And yellow, those two colors, right? So I'd want to accommodate her. Yes, thank you, Tasha. I don't know if you also your intention, if you got a chance to write it down. This is something I do all the time. I make an intention for getting up in the morning. Why are you getting up? Is there a reason? Is it because you want to brush your teeth? Is that the only reason? Probably not. But I mean, to be intentional with our lives is huge because then we have more agency about choosing what we're doing rather than going through the motions. We're asleep again, especially now more than ever with what we're living through. So
Right.
thank you, Tasha, for opening it up. Anybody else?
So Marjorie is an old family name, and I was named after my great aunt. And I do this type of scribble art a lot, but I never thought about putting my name in it. So I wrote my name first, and then I scribbled through it and started coloring it. Basically, it's chaotic, which describes me and my life. And then it's very colorful, which also describes me.
Love that. But it's also very contained, Marjorie. And what I notice is it's very controlled. It's not a scribble. It's deliberate. Like the colors is intentional and they're all in their own space. So you have some sense of organization there. You might think it's chaotic, but the art says something different than what you're saying. It doesn't look chaotic to me.
Well, thank you. And yeah, it is. I'm a type A, very perfectionist. So yes, I do have a hard time letting go. And that's why I started doing the scribble stuff. But then I found out that I still have a hard time letting go.
And then to accept that, that's okay. You're not alone. Who else has a hard time letting go? I certainly do. Look, Marjorie, look at the company you're keeping here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So no, really, that's what I'm saying. And we call it chaotic and we label it in our mind that way, but the art might say something different to us and open us up to another perspective. That's the other profound piece of this work.
And the other was I'm sharing because of something I noticed, which when I was doing it. So just my Kelly. There's no particular it's just my name. No historical anything. Green because I like, the plants, green, growth, spring. But I noticed, just to share as far as the art therapy part, I noticed that very focused on the heavy outlines. I really needed that. And just to say, because and I'm not going to say what, something happened yesterday that was fairly traumatic. So I could see that. I'm like, oh yeah, recognize that need for security, containment. Yeah. So that was I just wanted to kind of share that is what art, you don't even realize what it's doing. And right there it is.
Wow. Thank you for that, Kelly. You're right. And maybe, you're polishing up your healthy boundaries here.
Right.
You're honing them. So that's the silver lining of the experience you had yesterday, right? It got your attention and you're getting some love here, I see, in the community. And you're not alone either. And that's one of the beautiful things about mindful self-compassion. I thank you all for these beautiful comments. It makes it so much more impactful for everyone. It's not just me out here doing my thing, but you're here with me. I'm not alone just blabbing away here. It matters. It's something this is a heartfulness we're talking about. It's meaningful. It matters. So, and Lois, we're going to make time for you. But I wanted to say the three components of mindful self-compassion, the yin. I don't have time to really get into it. Maybe we'll have another training on this because it's so important. The three components of the yin, which is really taking care of yourself, which is loving, connected presence. The loving is the self-kindness, like treating ourselves again with kindness, with compassion. We're human, we're imperfect, we make mistakes, we screw up, things fail. Everyone has that. And so being kind to ourselves, along with, of course, the mindfulness piece, knowing, hey, I'm having a hard time right now. Like Kelly, you're having a hard time. Something yucky happened yesterday and it threw you off. Happens to everybody. And so the common sense of humanity is the third component, that we're never alone in our suffering, ever. There's always at least a billion people, probably more now with things the way they are, a billion people in the world suffering along with us. But we somehow convince ourselves, I'm the only one with this issue. And then we have shame about it. And then we isolate. And our clients do the same thing. And what happens? We go down the rabbit hole. And that's where panic attacks and depression and all that happens. So this practice of noticing, and then what do I need right now? That's the mindful self-compassion question. And maybe Kelly, you need more, brush up on those boundaries there, and your art gave you that answer. I love that. Thank you. Something as simple as a name design. You can use this as a name tag design. I've done it on little name tags. You can do it in a group. I've done it where people disguise their name and then we repass them out, especially if you know your group members and you deliberately give. So I want to give you these developmental stages of art developed by Victor Lowenfeld. I'm also going to give you some warning signs in children's artwork. In the handout, there's particular materials recommended for different developmental stages. And what's so powerful about these stages is that you can recognize not only how the brain is developing, but also how that person sees the world. And we can tell that about ourselves and each other. So here we go. So the scribbling stage, now again, this is flexible. Those of you with children this age, they're scribbling. We all start with scribbling. And guess what? The art, the graphic representation mirrors our speech development. If you can imagine, because it's all going on up here in the brain. And so we expect to see scribbling. And when we have the scribbling, in time we have babbling in speech. So they go together. So in this drawing I'm showing you here, it's monochromatic, it's one color. And with young children, those of you that work with really young children, I only recommend the 3 colors, giving them, a lot of them don't even have the fine motor skills to hold anything yet. But when they do, they love to scribble. But this kid is already moving into the pre-schematic stage. This kid was 3. So they're a little ahead. They're a little bit exceptional, a little bit gifted. But here, these scribbles are more controlled too. So when you get into the pre-schematic stage, what happens is the child is drawing a schema. So a symbol for what they're talking about. It's called a schema. And they have stories they tell about these things. Now, in this drawing I'm showing you, you're going to see this case in a little bit briefly. This is a 4-year-old. Look at him. I mean, look at this kid's really bright. Tell me about it. I mean, he draws him and his brother on a skateboard that's really their mom, who they're relying on, and his dad, who passed away abruptly, in that little circle. And so for him, when you look at the details, and he was 4 years old when he did this. I mean, I would want to have him tested for gifted. It's really interesting. But the pre-schematic stage is often, you'll see symbols that don't make sense to you, but they do to the child. And the child, again, speech-wise, this is when we have words and sentences and stories and perseveration. Oftentimes at the age of 7, you're going to see the schematic stage. And again, it's flexible according to the kid. And if they have, again, a lot of stressors in their lives, they've had a lot of grief, a lot of trauma, they're going to be regressed for their age, and that's normal. We scribble when we're traumatized. Everyone does. That's what's supposed to happen. So we want to watch these things and see the whole person as much as we can, because we're going to see a ground line in the schematic or a baseline in the schematic stage. This is a very old drawing. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew came through Miami, blew my house away. We were in it. We lost everything except our lives. Imagine that, right? You see, back then they paid, insurance paid to rebuild. I mean, all the stuff going on, you know, all the natural disasters. I totally relate. And this girl was in foster care. And so she rebuilt her house in her artwork. And boy, was she, and she wanted that electricity on badly. But look again at the investment. It looks like it could be a stamp. I mean, she took her time, so controlled, so grounded. And that's what I want to focus on with these people. What's right with them? They already know what's wrong with them. That doesn't make them feel better. They already know that. And this 7 to 9 year time is really tricky socially too. And fitting in, and that's when a lot of bullying takes place. And we really want to watch the symbols here. What repeats is important. And you move into what we call dawning realism. This girl had an ADHD diagnosis, attention deficit hyperactivity diagnosis. And so she was daydreaming a lot of the time. She also loved art. So she was pretty skilled. And this is a self-portrait of her daydreaming. I wonder if you notice what's in the center of the picture. If anybody notices her braces, it would be easy to miss. So you really want to take in the whole picture. She had just gotten braces and she was so excited about it. And they're right smack in the middle of the paper. And of course she gets in trouble in school and she daydreams, but she knows about it. How can we help her with her gift of art and expression? So again, focusing on what's right in the drawings, what you notice, and asking questions, not really very open-ended questions. And what I like to do is I put my hand like on the area of the drawing that I'm interested in. Tell me about this. If you have someone who's communicative, you don't always have that. And that's okay. They don't have to. The art speaks for itself, as you noticed with the name design, right? You don't have to have a story. You don't even have to understand it. It's theirs. So when we get into pseudo-naturalistic, this is with pretty decent art instruction. You know, hopefully you still have art in your elementary schools. I think they took it out of the middle schools, unfortunately, and music, unfortunately. But you can see it's a lot more sophisticated. And again, the nature of the speech becomes a lot more sophisticated, right? So you want to look for that. And you want to see like where, it's funny, this student at the time used the entire paper. That's also interesting, right? And it goes off the page. So there's more to tell. So here is the last stage, the decision stage. And again, a lot of us don't even get here, depending on what kind of art instruction we've had. But it doesn't matter. You know, maybe, a lot of people say, I can't draw. I only do stick figures. You know what? That's okay. Then maybe drawing isn't your media. Maybe that's just you don't feel safe enough. Maybe you're better off with collage. That's when you switch. Drawing is not for everyone. If it makes you uncomfortable, why would I want you to have to do that? That's not fair. So I'd bring in clay, or maybe you're kinesthetic and you would enjoy collage with fabrics. Like, be creative. What do you love the most? But these are important to know cognitively where that person is. And when you're looking at warning signals, I'm just checking the time here. Okay. When you're looking at warning signals, you want to just notice if there's a story that the picture tells us. This one is a student who He felt like a victim in his family, and he had a dream about his father and his brother throwing basketballs at him, and he drew his dream. And what's so interesting about this, it has a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. A lot of intelligence here. This kid was 12. And he spent the most time on himself with color, with affect, but he's cut off at the hands. And, very often when you see pictures of people at the bottom of the paper and they're sinking, there's no ground line. He's 12. He's old enough to make a ground line, right? Something to stand on. That could indicate depression if it repeats over and over. Because without hands and feet, we're helpless and hopeless. But you want to be careful. You want to consult people. You need a team. You don't want to do it by yourself. If you have questions, find an art therapist. In Virginia, there's a wonderful graduate training program, Eastern Virginia. It's been around forever in Norfolk. You can find an art therapist there easily, or go to the American Art Therapy Association website. It's worth it to get another pair of eyes. Or if you see floating figures in the drawing and it repeats over and over, you don't know. Maybe the kid had a really bad night, or the adult, and you want to make sure it depends, right? We have our moods. And in moment to moment, things are constantly changing. In this case, the kid made this design on his pants, on his arm. It was everywhere. Do you notice the door on the far right end? There's a way in and out of this drawing. But you want to check for confusion, thought disorganization, or omission of body parts. This 14-year-old kid, that's unusual. I know he's capable of drawing body parts, but this is a picture of him. Notice how he insulated it. That's called encapsulation. There's more negative space. All the space around the artwork is called, around the image is called negative space. The image itself is positive space. So it's impoverished. Well, yeah, he was a victim of domestic violence, physical abuse, sexual abuse, possibly. He wouldn't cop to it. But notice the 3 red lines and then the lines coming out from there. I mean, he really needs to protect himself. And I was curious because he spent a lot of time on the details of the eyes. He has a lot of intelligence. Notice how the mouth is filled in. So we want to accept the artwork and be careful of what we project into it, because we can't help ourselves. Oh no, he's depressed right away, we think, right? We don't know for sure. Maybe we're depressed. Usually if we put a label on it, it's about us, not them. So we really have to be careful with that, because it's juicy, right? It's provocative. It triggers us. We have our own stuff. That's why we need help and supervision with this stuff when we get started with it. If you see inconsistencies within the same picture, and I gave you in your handout a list of warning signals, so you have this on paper as well, not quite like this. But this girl, I worked with a lot of homeless kids, foster care, kids in migrant families, that sort of thing. You would expect this. It has a yin and a yang quality, very, it's her way of balancing out. Notice the tear. You take it all in. And it's important how you talk to the person you're with about the artwork. And so you can see this last one. We'd have to move something around here. So, okay. So that's an example of regression. This girl, her mother was a police officer and was murdered on duty, actually. And so she felt pulled out by her roots. And I had been working with her because she had a very complicated family. So you would expect this kind of thing. And so what we do in therapy is we look at the process, like this student that I had the privilege of working with for 3 years in the high schools, and how it starts, just like how you made your name design. Where did you start? What did you start with? That's what you do in your mind when you see something. That's how you're perceiving it. That's how you're taking it in initially. That's all unconscious, but you have access to this with yourself and the people you're working with. So notice what happens as it evolves, as a progressive, what he calls his demons. The demons come in. And notice there's no other color but black and white. That's important for him. And you want to pay attention to that. And here's his final piece. Now color comes in. So we don't always have to say something about it, but we note it. And we want to use it in our treatment team meetings because we don't get this kind of information anywhere else. So I want to show you a couple of very quick cases in the spirit of getting everything in our tiny time together. This is Dylan and Trevor, not their real names. This is the kid I showed you earlier, the 4-year-old. His 9-year-old brother, after their father passed away they were supposed to go on a car trip. I'm sorry, they were supposed to sail around the world on a boat. And their father went up the East Coast to say goodbye to friends and family and went out one morning and went off a mountain and died. So their mom brought them in. This was a private art therapy session. So the 9-year-old, who was very quiet, drew this drawing first. You could see this was after Hurricane Andrew, because they had bought a boat because their house got destroyed. And these pictures are, again, the other thing about art is you have evidence of change here that's so vital that we don't have with narrative therapy unless we record the sessions. And even then, not necessarily, because we say the same things over and over. So he drew this picture. He named him Fred. That wasn't the name of his dad. He just named the picture. Sometimes I'll say, tell me a story and name it. He called it It's Not Fair. And he didn't say anything. And when he came into my office, I had a very small supply of colored pencils, like 5, maybe 5 markers, a really good pencil with an eraser, and different size paper for him to choose. He's 9. I want him to feel like he has some control, because certainly losing your dad is so traumatic. So we worked together for a year. These are highlights. You can see it was October. We started in September. In October here, he had a dream about his dad, which is very normal. And we know when children grieve, it's developmental. In his case, at 9, and he was advanced too, he knew that it was permanent, unlike his 4-year-old brother. And he had in his dream meeting his dad, and mom's in the background with the dog in the hallway, and they're coming together. And he puts his little brother over in the corner there playing with toys in that same orange, which is normal. Sibling rivalry wants him out of the way. He wants his dad all to himself. And then he takes up baseball later on in the sessions. This is January already, the next year. And look what happens to the orange line. He makes dad the pitcher. That's his fantasy. And the orange line we see in the initial drawing is going inside the diamond. So I know he's progressing in his grief. He's finding ways to have joy in his life, which is what we want for everyone. And this is his final piece with clay. His little brother, 4 years old, doesn't realize that dad is gone forever. He doesn't have the brain. His brain is not developed enough to know that death is permanent and universal. So he makes himself on the far side. He identifies himself upside down in a wire that's not even connected to anything, because his world is upside down. But look, he gives himself a support to hold on to. It's so brilliant. And then his older brother is elevated in the center there because he looks up to him. He's his older bro. Then mom is next to him, colored in, a little more investment there in her being grounded, right? And there's dad in another form. And his big grief was that there were more pictures, family pictures of everyone together with dad, with his brother. There was many more of his brother, who was 4 years older, 5 years older, than of him. So he spent his art therapy sessions making these family drawings with him and dad as the same color. So that's just a little bit about the power of all this in those case studies. So I want to move now into applications, because time is not my friend. So there are many warm-ups we can use for grounding and for centering. And breath drawings are one of them. So I invite you to take out a piece of paper, choose a particular color. Get ready to do breath drawings. Not yet, but you're prepared. I'm getting you warmed up, because we're working on a strengths versus pathology-based mindfulness approach. So we're in the present moment. So I want you to notice your emotions and judgments and sensations when you look at this piece of art. This is on the cover of the Wiley-Blackwell Handbook of Art Therapy. It was edited by Dave Gusak and Marcia Rosal. And actually, the new edition is coming out very soon. In this edition, I wrote a chapter on positive art therapy. And I talked about a group I led with kids in substance abuse treatment, inpatient and residential treatment, inpatient treatment, and gave them clay, and they all ganged up on me. It was a nightmare. They were rude and hostile and horrible, but I hung in there. How many of you have done this to yourselves? I bet I'm not alone. And this kid, the ringleader, made this piece. Wow, right? So something happened. Of course, I was a noodle. Lois was talking about me taking time afterward. Boy, did I have to take more than an hour after this group for myself. But what do you think about this? It ends up, if you touch the limbs, if you touch these branches, they're so sharp, they would pierce your finger and it would bleed. So notice what you notice. First, take care of yourself. I think in retrospect, as I wrote in that chapter, and by the way, it's over 100 chapters, this book. People are therapists from all over the world. The new book is coming out very soon. It's online also, if you're interested. And I wrote a chapter on mindfulness and art therapy. That's the new one. But I want you to see the investment this kid had while he tried to beat me up and get everybody else on board with beating me up. So, there's so much to take in. So give yourself a lot of grace. All right, back to breath drawings. So with that piece of paper, I invite you to notice your breath right now without changing it in any way, and draw your experience of your breath. We're going to have 3 experiences, and they're all brief. So draw the experience of your breath right now, any way, any shape, however you like, and just notice what you notice. There's no wrong answer. And then I invite you, maybe on the same piece of paper, if you have space, or on another piece, your choice, to think of an experience in your life that's mildly aversive, not traumatically aversive, mildly aversive, so that you feel it in your body when you think about it. But on a scale of 1 to 5, it's not a 5. You might end up at 5, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen we don't have time for 5s, maybe a 2 or a 3. And notice your breath as you're thinking about that circumstance, that story in your mind's eye. What happens to your breath for you? Draw your breath now with that in your mind's eye. Notice your body and how it's responding to this too. I mean, I feel a heaviness in my chest. That's important. Stay with it. Because again, we all have choices at any moment to lean in, lean out, or completely disengage. And if I say something that triggers you, time to lean out. Take care of yourself. Maybe you're not ready to do this right now, and that's okay. That's okay. That's self-care. And then think of a circumstance, a situation in your life right now that brings you such joy, makes you smile automatically, and draw your breath now with that joyful situation in your mind's eye. And so then, I know we're going on break in 2 minutes, so I want to prepare you, because we'll have a breakout session near the end of our time together. So we're going to be doing a lot of different art experiences here. And the next one is mandalas. And so maybe we can squeeze in a quickie here, like a really brief mandala, because notice if you feel more grounded with these. I use these as warm-ups very often. These are some examples of how I use mandalas. I order these, they're almost like pizza holders. They're just cardboard circles. I love them because they keep, and they're inexpensive. I can get them S&S Arts and Crafts, Triarco. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon, but if you are, whatever you want. And they're inexpensive, but you can also just draw a circle on your paper. And like this kid, for example, again, I have Sharpies sometimes. I forgot to mention Sharpies. They make great tattoos and they disappear. They walk. When you have Sharpies, you really got to keep an eye on those things, just like sharps. Same thing. So I invite you to draw a circle on your paper. If you're a perfectionist, maybe you have a dinner plate or something, or an appetizer plate you can use. Don't worry about it. And start from the center of the circle and just go from the center out really briefly. And just notice what happens, because that's what we're doing here. We're working from the center out, right? We're making the invisible visible, but we're keeping it safe because we're dealing with people who are traumatized, ourselves and each other. right? Just living in the world is enough for that. You can see you can do mandalas through weaving. There's wonderful activity you can order. They have numbers and you can use it in community, weaving together. You can all in supervision, I use it. This is a mandala of calmness and a mandala of chaos for this particular person. So mandalas are circles. They mean one. They're a meditative practice. You may already use them, but they are really helpful. So with that, you can continue working on this in your whatever. Notice how you spend this 10 minutes. Yeah. I'd like to introduce you to my book, the Mindful Doodle book, which was published initially in 2016 by Pesci. I have a copy of it right here. It was rebound and published again in 2019. It's a compilation of my life's work. If you have a dream, this one took 25 years from idea to publication. It's mindful doodling. Really, doodling has reached all sorts of, I'd say, heights nowadays, because when you ask someone to doodle, it takes the performance anxiety out of it rather than a drawing. And so I've given you in your handout a few templates for mindful doodling, and I thought I'd give you an opportunity here for a few minutes to doodle. I'll give you a few options. Like in your handout, you have present moment awareness doodle. And so I'm going to read. I know a lot of you don't have the handout available, so I'm going to read to you what it says in the doodle book. I'll show you what it looks like. It's a page like this, and it has a doodle prompt. So some people are uncomfortable doodling on a blank surface because then they have to think about what to do. So I put that there if people want something to start with, like with Zen Doodle, that's very popular. They give you a structure, and a lot of people feel more comfortable with that. But I'm going to read this to you. In the book, you can obviously adjust how you want to direct this in your own way, depending on who you're working with. But this is for your own needs right now. So here's what it says. Mindfulness can slow down the felt sense of time passing. It's possible to linger in the here and now through silent attentiveness without having to have anything happen next and without any purpose other than being alive and appreciative of this life in this very moment. Stop wherever you are and take a breath. Check in with yourself fully on the inside and on the outside. Then doodle this moment from the inside outward. Feel free to include any turbulence, resistance, and vulnerability, as these features frequently undermine our state of presence. Both the mindfulness practice and accompanying doodle can offer us new options for working with the mystery of both the emptiness and the fullness of time passages from moment to moment. So let's see what happens. Again, another wonderful thing about mindful doodling, it's deliberate doodling. It's doodling with intention. Regular doodling is we don't care. And many of you must be doodlers and you already have your signature doodle. And if you go there, that's okay too. So let's see what happens. And mindful self-compassion in my work with myself and with people. There's dark and light doodles. This is an example. And that's my doodle on the left. You can see I wrote about it. I recommend that. Maybe you want to make a comment on your doodle. Maybe it tells a story. Maybe you want to give it a name. It's yours. Do you realize that when you make art around your experience, like in the doodle book, the first, it goes into a little bit about doodle research and art therapy versus using art therapeutically, which is what we're doing today. And then the opening chapter is about doodling emotions, and there's no doodle prompts with those. So if I'm doodling darkness, maybe something comes up for me that I notice about it that I want to remind myself, and maybe I want to write a poem about it or a rap song. Maybe I want to dance to it or dialogue with it because I'm shifting my relationship to my experience by doodling it. If I have anxiety, and then I know where it is. It's in my chest. I actually do have some there. It hangs out most of the time. And I want to give it a form. I can do that. I can doodle it up. And guess what happens? Now I have it. It doesn't have me anymore. And I name it. I'm in charge now. So wow, imagine the possibilities here. Now this was my client that made dark and light doodle on one piece of paper. And you can see they share equal parts for him. And here's another example of anxiety. This client on the left, best friend, worst enemy. So his anxiety was his frenemy. And then frustration took on a whole different form. And he wrote core in there. So it gives you more information about how to take care of it. What kind of relationship do you want with these emotions? They've showed up. How do we want to relate to them? We have a choice, and we can do it this way. We can do it for ourselves. This is out of the Mindful Doodle book. Here's the angry doodle. This is a therapist doing the angry doodle. And this is after a really tough session. And then she continued the doodle on another piece of paper and took care of it. So anything is possible here with these resources. So I want to stop the share because I know we've done three already art directives. I took you through breath drawings, very fast with mandalas, too fast, if I say so myself. Way too fast, because all of these are very powerful, both as warm-ups to help warm somebody up to making art, or it could be that would be the beginning of the session and then you move into whatever, a larger art piece depending on your time, and the mindful doodling. I'm going to look at the chat room. I think I have another message in here. Great. Yeah, exactly, Kara. Exactly. Yes, I see you use Zentangle. Beautiful. Candy, I don't know what you wanted to know about doing it in the mandala, but I'm opening it up right now because for questions, for discoveries, for epiphanies, what did you notice? What's happening for you with this array of very juicy resources for you to make? The idea is that you make this your own. It has to come from you, your heart. You're not me, and I'm not you. So it's got to be you, or it's not real. You know what I mean? What do I need right now? The mindfulness question is, what's my experience right now first, in my body, in my life? The self-compassion question is, what do I need right now? So does anybody want to share breath drawing, mandala, mindful doodling?
We're both at Region 10. So my name's Bree. I wanted to share a little bit about the breath drawings that we did. Sarah and I both noticed that our breath is almost always like this up here, like jagged. So I noticed that even like my resting breath is jagged because I don't know why. Our specific job is very go, go, go and overwhelming. And unless I actually sit and pay attention to the way I'm breathing, it's like jagged and like feels anxious almost. So both of mine were jagged until like I thought of the happy memory, and then it finally like calmed down. And I think that speaks to the power of mindfulness, because for some people, like you're just go, go, go all day, always focused on your next task and the next thing you have to do and your next schedule. And you're not thinking about how you're actually feeling. And so when you're actually practicing being mindful, you pay attention to that. And so until I did this, I didn't realize that my breath is always jagged and very like anxious feeling.
You know, I so appreciate that. By the way, if you put on speaker view, just so you know, you'll be able to see the artwork. That's for everybody else. You don't like the jagged breath, right? That's what we do. We judge it. We decide, I don't like it. It's not supposed to be like that. I want it like the calm breath. I want to always have calm breath. Of course we do, right? And this is what the mind does to us, and it convinces us we should have calm breath. We're not okay. And yet, this is the practice of knowing and allowing. So if you make a fist, if everybody makes a fist for a moment, you might notice it's hard, it's tense, it's controlling. This is what we do. We resist when we're confronted with adversity. Our first Initial response is resistance, and that's the opposite of mindfulness, resistance, because we're trying to survive and we push back against it naturally. But guess what happens? What we resist persists and gets bigger. And so we're overwhelmed. So this is the practice. If you open your hand up, go ahead and do this. It won't hurt you, I promise. Like a flower opening, and stay with it until it's flat like this. And notice what you notice. What's that experience like? Is it open? Is it freeing?
Letting go.
Yeah. This is mindfulness, opening and allowing everything, the jagged, the smooth, because it's all about you being human. And you know what? That breath has been with you your whole life, and it's helped you. It's maybe you're not happy it's jagged, but there's a reason somehow about just how it is. And you're not alone because your coworker has it too.
Yeah.
So this is about like appreciating that you know about it, and how do you want to make friends with it? That's the kicker. That you might as well, right? Here you are. Here's your chance. So how do you want to take care of it? That's what I would say to you. That would be the next thing. So thank you, because this is going to help a lot of people.
I've been trying to practice breathing more, but it is something that I'm trying to break out of a habit. And I don't know, because I've never really had problems with holding my, with not breathing all the time. But when I was in an accident, they had me hooked up, and then my numbers would keep going off because I was holding my breath, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, like trying to get that together. But did I only fix it because of everybody else, or did I really feel like I needed to regulate my breathing for myself? But in that moment, because everybody's so concerned about me, I chose to breathe, whereas even to this day, like I'll still catch myself holding my breath. I don't really think that is negative, but I know that is something that I do. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I feel I can control or whatever, but that is something that I've realized about myself.
Wonderful. And you know what? Same thing about making friends with it, because there's good reasons for this. Probably very often it runs in families, like lineage. Maybe your mom holds her breath, or your grandma, or your great grandma. I mean, I don't know if you've ever investigated that, but when we hold our breath, it's some control we have over our bodies, and when something traumatic like an accident happens, that you didn't have a lot of control over what was happening to your body, certainly all hooked up. I can understand where that would give you a sense of agency, if nothing else. And even if you don't understand it, it doesn't matter. It's still happening. And so again, the practice of being with what is now it's part of just how you've gotten through stuff. And so why not make friends with it, invest, especially, and that's a process. But thank you. You could see how incredibly powerful this is, but helpful, because the more you know about yourself, I don't know how many of you have your own therapist, but you can always tell when the therapist has done their own work, right? I've had therapists that have done their own work, and for short periods, therapists that clearly have not. And it does make a difference, for sure. So thank you for that. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. I know, time, not my friend. I have to make friends with it though, don't I? Haha. Okay, so here we are. So moving ahead. I'm sorry. I wanted to introduce you. This is not something you can do right now, but it's another art experience I thought you would enjoy, because one of the hardest things for us, there's really three components to, it's called savoring. Like, one of the things I do a lot, and I want you to have information about, it can be called joy spotting, miracle spotting, or AWE spotting, whatever you want, because we're living in such very challenging times, and then we have our own challenges. And so whatever you can do to remind yourself that you're having this life, what brings you joy, it could be the smallest thing of looking at a pretty color or whatever it is. But savoring is like lingering with the positive. That's like bumblebees do. They hang in there with the nectar and then they move on. You use your senses. Ooh, this coffee tastes so good. I still taste it from this morning. Still lingering on my tongue. That kind of thing that we just take for granted and we're so distracted. So it's savoring, also gratitude and appreciation for this life. Whatever we can appreciate about it, that my heart is still beating, my lungs are filling, whatever. We don't usually appreciate, though, our qualities, our strengths. So self-appreciation is usually the hardest of those three for savoring. I mean, for joy spotting. And so this I created and I want to share it with you. What you do is you can use magazines. I like to file my magazine pictures like female, male, groups, children, computers, nature, because it's faster. Because if you have people looking through magazines, they get stuck on the perfume scratch thing and reading an article and you don't have time. But if you don't have time to make those prep, the idea is you have magazines for all different ethnicities, and then you have them find a picture of someone who you think would get you. Someone like when you meet someone for the first time and you feel that resonance, like you feel connected to them like that. Like, ooh, I like this person. They feel really good. I want to be friends with them. Find a picture of someone like that. And then cut it out or fix it the way you want it. Or it could be like for some of the kids I work with, they don't, autistic kids and that sort of thing. They don't relate to people. Maybe they'll choose a sneaker they really like that would get them. It's got to be open and flexible, right? And so I have sneakers. That was big. The sneaker in high school, like that was all about all the rage. So whatever. You cut it out, you put it on either a piece of white paper or maybe you'll have construction paper. And then you ask that person, only if they're ready for something like this, and you do it yourself first. See how it is for you first. You ask them to imagine being that person. And what would they get about you? Write it. Now, this person wrote this letter, Dear RB, I appreciate your personality. Your smart ass remarks are funny. Also, your stomach and how you eat too much. Also, your self-awareness. You're also good at video games. Bye. And then this was somebody in high school. You can see it. This is old stuff, but it's still so relevant. I just kept it, So then what I did, I haven't done it now since I've left the school system, but I put it in an envelope and I get their address. Now this is down in Homestead. I worked there at most of the underserved schools. That's at the tip of Florida, right by the Keys. And a lot of these people are immigrants. And so nowadays I wouldn't get away with it because they don't like getting mail. It's scary. But you could put it in an envelope and you could actually give it to them at the end of your session or at another time. Hold on to it. You can do this and give it to someone to hold on to. Let them give it to you at another time. You'll forget. But it's a reminder of the things you have in you to remember to appreciate, and it's fun. So this is also in your handout, and I wanted to give you a chance. I know a lot of you don't have the handout, so fortunately I have it here. So maybe you can just take a piece of paper, and again, I've put some time aside for this. How are we doing? We don't have a ton, but we have about 10 minutes. So why don't you just pick one? See what you can do. This is what it looks like. And I ask the person to check off, you see what it says, check off what fits for you. And you see there's also another slot there's an other slot where you can fill in. Again, it's mindfulness practice. It's getting to know ourselves better with a kind, curious attitude. A hospitable attitude, a welcoming attitude. So check those boxes that fit for you and add a color if you have them around. And so I've also given you a body outline. So this is what that person did. And so I'm going to ask you to create an outline of a body. Try not to be too critical. It doesn't matter. And then what you do is you have a little key there, like this person, according to what you filled out in that list, what color was there? So where does it live in your body? All this comes from the inside out. It's an inside job. So what would it look like if you placed it in there? Where is it? So this is about emotional regulation, identification, validation, and empowerment. Your relationship to the experience of stress and calm. And again, if this doesn't feel good to you and you're like, I don't like this, it doesn't feel right, it's not right for me, I can't do this right now, then don't. That's okay. That's self-care. But notice that you're having a reaction, and that might be something you want to investigate. You know, this is so sensitive with physical abuse, sexual abuse, uh, domestic violence. I mean, on and on and on and on. So whatever you're ready for, that's where you go, right? And so then it's an incredible tool for it's just an amazing tool for self-awareness. Gives you so much to work with. Let me show you some other examples. Also, sensory awareness. Does it feel when I'm paying attention to it in my body? This person made this body outline and then felt like an assault in the stomach and groin region, and it was painful initially, but she stayed with it. She felt safe enough and found some serenity, some water, a sun rising underneath of it. Underneath it there was some peace, amazingly, because you could have both at the same time. And this is someone that did this. There's a body scan meditation. I don't know if you're familiar with it, where you focus on different areas of your body and breathing in just, whatever you want to bring in, peace, understanding, courage, acceptance. So she made the first body outline and then she took it out of the body. That's another option. And she redrew it on another piece of paper. And then I said, how do you want to take care of it? And she made it into a butterfly. So how do you want to take care of it? I'm going to give you the option in the next. I would give my clients more time than I'm giving you. Let me just say that, okay? Definitely. So think about that. Does that feel right to you to want to investigate it? Oh, now that I know where it is, I can take it out of my body because it's mine. It's mine for the taking. And I can place it the exact same way I made it in the body on another piece of paper. And then I can decide out of the body, because look at the metaphor of this. You're first examining, how do I feel when I'm calm? How do I feel when I'm stressed? Maybe that's enough for some people and they can't go any further. And I get that. That's okay. That's huge. Every step is. It's enormous. Enormous. And then if I'm ready and able, I can put it in the body with my key that I made and my colors, my way. And then if I want to take it even further and I feel safe enough, I can take it out. And then the mindful self-compassion question is, what does it need? What do I need to take care of it? It's mine. I'm in charge of it. It's my baby. Yeah. Notice what happens. We're going to have a breakout session near the end of our time, and you'll have opportunities. You'll have 10 minutes this time to share. I hope you take it further. If it resonates with you, any of these tools, and share with whoever you trust. That's really important here because we're in ourselves, and that connection that we all share, always being human together, is so important for our feelings of mattering and connection. It's huge for our well-being. So, we're going to move into aluminum foil sculptures next. And so I hope you have aluminum foil. I'm going to take you through. First, I'm going to show you how I use these sculptures. And then I'll give you a chance if you don't have foil. Maybe you have pipe cleaners. I don't know if you had a chance. But it's so fun. You can use tissue paper, fabric, ribbon, anything you want, straws, uh, any props. I mean, I love props. It's up to you. It depends on, again, who you're working with. But first, you get to have the fun first. So these are some of the ways I use it to build community. And boy, do we need community. So this is an example of an aluminum foil sculpture of me as a professional and me in my personal life. I don't know if you can tell which is which. Ha ha ha. Singing in the rain is a personal thing, using an eraser to kind of ground it. The heavy duty aluminum foil can hold itself up. That's why I love it. If you just use regular foil, it's just not as substantial for this particular sculpting experience. And you can see at work, I'm holding a bunch of stuff. I wonder who can relate to that. Look at that. I'm just like loaded down. I got all this happening. And look how it's being hugged. I mean, there's so much to notice. And that's mail messages. You see those little pieces of paper there, like in a group. If you can trust the group, if they've been together long enough and they're kind to each other, you can do mail messages, like have people walk around and enjoy each other's. And maybe how does that touch you? One word, or, because we're all connected. This is an example of a workshop I did actually in Israel about 10 years ago, if you can imagine that, with Palestinians, Jews, and Arabs. I wish I could do it now in Israel. Huh. Unfortunately, don't think it would be possible at this moment. But look what happens with the top one, that this is a group of coworkers that I worked with training, like you all. And look at them. Look at what they did together, as opposed, like these people were able to be together, but a little more space between them. And here's another example of the personal and the professional. Look at the professional. Can you relate? The weight on my shoulders versus my yoga pose in my personal life. Thank goodness for that, right? So I invite you. I've made a little bit of time for this. How many people have aluminum foil? Does anybody? Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm going to take you through anyway. So you can see, actually, maybe I will stop the share. Yeah, again, and let's see, so I can show you at least. And whatever you can put me on speaker view if you want, if that makes it easier. But you don't have to do it my way. This is just one way. Do it your way. But you need 3 pieces of aluminum foil. And what I love about this media is that it's multi-sensory. Just what does it sound like to you? So you need 3 about this size. This is a little big, actually. If you're working with children, I'd cut it in half. So 3 about notebook paper size. So here, I'm going to get this all set up for you. Here's 2. And here's 3. And first, we want to explore the media like we did earlier. And just notice, touch it, listen to it, smell it. Does it have a taste? Kind of does, actually. What do you notice about it? People have different associations with this. Some people associate it with hair. Some people associate it with nails. Some people associate it with leftovers. Some people associate it with crack cocaine. Kind of depends, So you might want to ask, what does this remind you of? What do you notice with the sound? Yeah, you're really relating to the material. Yeah, and some people can't handle it. It makes the hair on their back of their neck stand up. And so that wouldn't be a good media for them, right? Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each piece and what I want you to do, if you don't mind first, is to stand up. Take a stand in your life. Notice your body. Woo, how does that feel? Whoa. Yeah. So I invite you to remember a time when you were at your best. You were at your best. You're on your game. You've got this thing going on. You're in it. It's working. It's buzzing. It's cruising. How does your body react to that? How do you look when you're at your best? What does your body do? How do you carry yourself? What does it look like? So take a moment and just notice what happens to your body. Think of a time, maybe you're at your best right now. I hope so. What does your body do? And so with that posture, I would invite you, of course, I would take more time with this if we had more, but we don't. And I would invite you with that memory of that posture. And again, this is one way of doing it. You make it yours. We're going to make a figure of you at your best. So we're going to roll every one at a time. I am going to roll this aluminum foil into a magic wand shape. I like magic wand because it's like Harry Potter. I live in Miami, so sometimes I'll say a Cuban cigar, even though they're not that long. So it's appropriate to your culture, whatever, is going to engage people. But it's like a magic wand. And so you're making legs and arms. So you want to be mindful of that. So, if you're flattening it, that's okay. You can't really get it wrong. What I love about this material is it's so easy to clean up. And anyone can do this with finer gross motor skills. You're going to end up with 3 that look like this. So again, same rhythm. Some people are going to be slow and steady. Some are fast and furious. You guys are used to being told to hurry up or slow down, right? So we're going to do, and I like to do it in silence so people can really be with it. So I have 3. So again, this is how I do it, and there is no one way. Really, mindfulness is the practice of opening and allowing all the possibilities in any given moment. Do you know how many there are? Unbelievable numbers. We just get stuck in our own way. We do things the same way, our habits, right? And so art can help open us up to, as many of you have talked about already, to other possibilities. It's so exciting, right? You don't have to be stuck. Okay, so I'm going to do one at a time. First, I'm going to make the head and the neck. I'm going to give you time to play with this, okay? It's important. It's fun, too. It's so fun, as you can tell. So I start with the head, and I roll this down. It's going to be facing you, so you can watch this. I'm having it face you this way. So I'm going to roll. Hold on. I want to fix my view here. Oh, why aren't you cooperating? Here it is. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to roll it down 2 times. So here's 1 and 2. It's going to look a little prehistoric. A little bit. So see, that's my head. Now you can play with this, of course, mess around with it, get it the way you want. I squeeze underneath where the neck is. Now, if you at your best are sticking your neck out and putting it on the line, you might need a little longer neck for that. That might be your habit. Maybe you stick your neck out a lot. That works for you when you're at your best. So I have a head, I have a neck, and I have a torso, well, the beginning of one, and 1 leg. I'll give you a chance to play with this a little bit. And maybe you found a different way of doing it. And I love that. I love a lot of things, don't I? Why not? Isn't it all about love? Isn't that what this all is about? Love is time and attention. We're giving time and attention to ourselves in a loving way. Nobody will ever get hurt with that. Do no harm, right? To ourselves and each other. Okay, so the second part is the arms. So I'm going to take my second magic wand, for lack of a better term right now, and I'm going to place it, again, it's facing you while you do this, but I'm showing it to you this way so you can see what I'm doing. I am going to measure only one side of an arm I like. Okay, so I like this length. It's a little fat right now for me. If you're a weightlifter and that's you at your best, you can do biceps and triceps later, not today, not now. You'll need more time for the musculature. But for our purposes, I'll have this length. So I have too long over here. So what am I going to do with this part? I am going to whip it around underneath the one I like one time, goes underneath and all the way around. So I have 2 arms. Like so. Now this one's still a little too long, so I can fold it a little bit if I want to. I can do whatever I want with it. What are my arms doing when I'm at my best? Maybe they're up in the air, you know? Whee! Hooray! It's working out. And then what I do, so you can play with it. This is such a wonderful material. It does what you want it to do. Don't we all love that? We get it the way we want it. God, that's always fun. So you're going to squeeze the wrists. I sometimes flatten out the hands here, but again, it's up to you. So you have that. We've got the 2 arms, or maybe you're hugging yourself when you're at your best. This is just so flexible and wonderful. That's what I love about the heavy duty. And they do sell it at the dollar store. I used to find it pre-cut. That was my favorite, especially if you're doing groups, because it is a bit of prep, right? The 3 pieces per person, not terrible. So I have a head, I have a neck, I have 2 arms, I've got a fist in the air. Yeah. I got 2 fists in the air. Whatever works. Yeah. Can you feel in your body that energy that you give out when you're at your best? You're on it. You're in it. So for the third part, and I don't see anybody raising their hand like, help, I need help. Everybody's good. Awesome. Okay, so I want to make, I got 2 arms, head, neck, and beginning of my torso. It's a little too thin there, I think. And 1 leg so far. So the last magic wand. So again, facing you when you're doing it, but I'm showing you this way. I'm going to measure this last one so that I'm lucky because my 2 legs are about the same. They're the same length. But I've worked with people with muscular dystrophy and wheelchairs, with multiple sclerosis or other disabilities. So their legs might not be the same level, right? It depends. But in our case, I'm lucky enough to have this. Many of you are too. But I have this extra here. So what do I do with the extra? I take it and I wrap it carefully around the center of the torso, around and around, like so, round and around, so that I'm giving my belly here a little more fortification, right? And my backside, right? The back, here's the front. And then I can squeeze the ankles like so. I can lift the feet like so. And I have my little figure of me at my best, but I got to make it more personal. I got to put my personality in it. What do we add to add affect? Who knows? Who remembers? Put it in the chat room. What do we do when how do we add affect to something? Yeah, Paige, you did it, Latasha. You were listening. Awesome. Right. Yeah, Kia. Yeah. Bicalataeud. Oh boy, that's a hard name for me to pronounce. So guess what? We add pipe cleaners. So again, I love when they sell, around the holidays, they sell the real sparkly kind at the dollar store. Those are fun too. So you take a pipe cleaner, you want to have different colors, but not too many decisions to make. And me at my best. So you can use the pipe cleaner for hair, for props, like, here's an example. What's going to make it yours? What do you need here to make it you at your best? Again, enjoy yourself. See what happens. Do you need like a laser maybe in your hand? It doesn't have to be realistic. Have fun with it. Maybe your halo shows up. See what happens. You at your best. Of course, you could do you at your worst. You could do a whole family of these. They're puppets. Again, There's so many possibilities of this kind of tool, this resource. So let's see what happens. Because we're going to go into breakout sessions again really soon. In about 4 minutes, actually. So I want to give you 10 minutes to break out. And you can talk about this in ways, what happens for you? The other lovely thing about this is that you could keep it around. And I love the community building piece. I know some of you are together. So after you make it, you can put it where do you want to be in community with each other? Bring your best self in community. Work with something like this. These are called worry dolls. And this is another wonderful resource. I think it's a Guatemalan folk art resource. And so these are clothespins. People use sticks. They use, I don't know, anything you want, really, chopsticks or real sticks. And they can wrap the yarn around it. That perseverative motion really helps the amygdala with anxiety. That's why some people clean or paint or doodle or dance or write or sing. And in a worry doll experience, you give this doll all your worries. You tell this doll all your worries and you put it under your pillow so the doll holds the worries for you and you get a good night's sleep. This is a family this person made. Look how beautiful this is. So I wanted to make sure you knew this as an option. Go with it. See what happens for you. It's so juicy as a resource. You can make your family. You can make me intoxicated, me sober. You can make me anxious, me calm. It's just on and on, right? Me at my best, me at my worst. The different parts of ourselves, if you're an internal family system devotee, whatever. It's just let your creativity flourish here. So we're going to go into breakout sessions in a moment. I'm going to let Michelle get ready for this. Hopefully you'll have your same group. These are just some other resources I use. I use masks for helping with this. This was a gang leader who this is his picture of anger and an external, like the landscape of my life. Always do it yourself first. Those are pre-made canvases, by the way, in the shape of a face that you can order. Or response art is something you do after a session when you're really triggered. You can doodle it up. That's a painting and behind me, actually, you see. It's called The Sky at Any Moment. So, and you don't have to be good at art. Yes, that's right, Kara, you don't. And so the first page of your handout is 3 poems I left you. And I'm going to read, so let me read this poem to you. It's called Kindness, and it's by Naomi Shihab Nye, who's a Palestinian American poet. But this is called Kindness. This is only 3 stanzas, but I think it's important with what we're cultivating here for ourselves and each other. Oh, you like the letters of appreciation. Wonderful. Wonderful. So it goes like this. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you carefully counted and saved, all this must go. So you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness, how you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in the white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. I appreciate your presence, your enthusiasm, your willingness to be with yourself in a tender, loving way because you know you deserve it. And I am so excited that you got so much from this. And I know so many people will benefit. It has a ripple effect, not only professionally, but of course, personally. So big thank you and big bow. All the best to all of you. Be well, be safe. Bye for now.